Thoreau once said, "A man is rich by the things he can leave alone." I didn't understand that at 40. I didn't understand it at 60. I understood it at 70. That's when I started leaving things behind. I walked away from everything that didn't bring me peace, from work that took more than it gave, from arguments that felt like contracts, from expectations I'd been carrying since I was a young man trying to prove something. And I kept what I was missing for 70 years. I kept early morning walks with my old dog, quiet drives to the lake before sunrise, slow afternoons on a golf course, beer in the garage with a friend, and Saturday college football. At 70, I stopped trying to be impressive. I started trying to be at peace. That's what I did. My name is Jack. I'm 72 years old, and it took me 7 decades to figure that out. You know, after I finally admitted all that out loud, sitting on my back porch with my coffee going cold, I thought that was the hard part, figuring it out. Turns out, figuring it out is just the beginning. Because once you get quiet enough to hear yourself think, you start hearing other things too. Things you'd been drowning out with work and noise and busyness for years. And one of the loudest things I heard, watching the sun come up over the tree line with my old dog Biscuit at my feet, was this. The women in my life weren't happy with me. Not angry, not cruel, just done. I thought, finally, I've become someone worth being around. I'm not stressed. I'm not distracted. I'm calm. I'm peaceful. But peaceful to a 70-year-old man and peaceful to a 70-year-old woman are two very different things. And that difference, quiet as it is, unspoken as it usually stays, is what pulls a lot of couples apart in the back half of life. Not affairs, not arguments, not money. Just two people who aged in different directions, needing different things, and not quite knowing how to say it. Let me tell you about my friend Dale. Dale and I go back 40 years. Same engineering firm. Fishing trips since our kids were small enough to fit in a life jacket. Steady, quiet, honest to a fault. Dale retired at 64. His wife Carol retired at 62. For 6 months they were fine. Took a cruise. Visited the grandkids. Then things got quiet. And the quiet landed differently for each of them. For Dale, quiet was the reward. 40 years of meetings and job sites and road trips earned him mornings with a fishing rod before the world woke up. He'd sit in his recliner reading a paperback western and feel like the richest man alive. For Carol, quiet felt like abandonment. She told me that herself over Thanksgiving. She said, "It wasn't that Dale did anything wrong. It was that he disappeared. He was right there in the same house, and I couldn't reach him." She wanted to talk, to go to the farmer's market on Saturday mornings and stop for lunch afterward. She wanted company, engaged, curious, present company. Dale wanted the lake. They didn't divorce. They're still together. But Carol told me there were 3 years where she cried more than she ever had. Not from sadness exactly, but from loneliness. And she was married. That's the part I still think about. How two people can share a roof and 40 years of memories, and one of them can still feel completely alone. Here's what I've come to believe. What happens to a lot of men, good men, decent men, is that retirement becomes the first time in their adult life that nobody needs anything from them. And that feels like freedom. Pure, clean, God-given freedom. For a man who spent 40 years being needed, not being needed feels like a vacation that never ends. He settles into it deeply, gratefully, like sinking into a warm bath. But for many women who spent those same decades holding everything together, raising children, keeping the social calendar, retirement isn't freedom from responsibility. It's the time they finally want to be seen. To sit across from someone at breakfast and have a real conversation. to plan a little trip and have her husband be genuinely enthusiastic instead of just going along. She doesn't need diamonds. She doesn't need grand gestures. She needs you to show up. And the man is out in the garage. I say that without judgment, because I was that man. After my wife Margaret passed, 8 years ago now, Biscuit kept me sane. The morning walks, the routine of stepping outside and watching the neighborhood come to life. Small anchors, but they held. When I eventually spent time with a woman named Patricia, a widow herself, I understood something I wish I'd grasped 30 years earlier. Patricia didn't need me to fix anything, didn't need me to be impressive. She just needed me to be interested, to ask about her daughter's new job and actually listen, to notice when she seemed tired, to remember her favorite drive was along the old river road when the leaves were turning. Small things, ordinary things, things I was fully capable of. But I also needed my mornings, my walks, my golf Thursdays, my Friday garage beer, my quiet. And the real question is whether two sets of needs that different can live in the same house. Whether a man chasing peace and a woman chasing connection can find a middle ground that feels like home to both of them. Sometimes the answer is yes. Sometimes it isn't. My friend Roy found that out the hard way. Retired firefighter, hands like catcher's mitts, soft-spoken in a way that surprised people. We'd play golf on Thursdays, then sit at the diner on Route 9, counter stools, pie worth driving 20 minutes for. Roy got remarried at 63. Met a woman named Diane at his granddaughter's school play. Warm, funny, full of life. Smitten inside of a month. The first year was good. Then Roy settled back into his rhythms. Early mornings alone, long quiet afternoons. Tuesday fishing with his brother. Saturday diner, alone, with a book. Diane started asking if she could come along. Roy would say, "Sure, of course," and mean it in his way. But he'd bring her along and sit there reading while she looked at the back of his book, wondering why she felt invisible. She told him once, Roy told me this over coffee, voice low, eyes on his cup, "Roy, I don't need you to entertain me. I just need you to want me there." He thought wanting her there was the same as letting her come. He didn't understand that wanting looks different than permitting. They separated after 3 years. No bitterness, just two people who realized too late they were looking for different things. Diane wanted a companion. Roy wanted someone to come home to after a day of solitude. Both real needs, neither one wrong, just incompatible in ways that only became clear after the romance settled and real life moved in. Most men my age don't stop loving women. They stop knowing how to be present for them, not out of cruelty, not indifference, but because emotional presence was never something most of us were taught. We were taught to provide, to protect, to show up physically and financially, and call that love. For a long time, it was enough. Life was busy enough that the gaps didn't show. But when you retire, when the kids are gone and the calendar clears, those gaps become visible. And a woman who's been patient for decades starts asking, not always out loud, sometimes just with her eyes, "Is this all there is?" And a man who finally feels free looks back and thinks, "Why isn't this enough? It's enough for me." That disconnect, that's the whole story. The men who keep a real partnership alive in their 60s and 70s aren't saints. They're just willing to stay curious about the person they're with, willing to put down the book sometimes, go to the farmer's market even when they'd rather sit on the porch. Not every day, just enough. And the women who find peace alongside a man who needs his quiet, they build their own connections too. Friends, grandchildren, interests that don't require him. They don't pour all their need for connection into one man and feel empty when he can't hold all of it. It's a negotiation, a long, quiet, mostly unspoken negotiation that either works or it doesn't. This past October, I was on the golf course on a Thursday morning. Sky that particular shade of blue you only get in fall. Leaves coming down slow off the big oaks. Dale walking beside me. Neither of us talking, just being there. And I thought about Thoreau again. I thought about everything I've left alone since 70. The arguments, the grudges, the pressure to be more than I am. And I thought, if I'd figured this out at 40 instead of 70, what would have been different? Would Margaret and I have had more quiet mornings together instead of rushing past each other? Would I have listened more? Wanted her there? Really wanted her there? Probably. But you can't go back. You can only go forward with what you know now. So if you're 60 and watching this, or 65, or 55 and you can see it coming, pay attention. Your peace is real and it matters. Protect it. But don't let it become a wall, because on the other side of that wall there might be someone who just wants to know you're still there, still interested, still glad they're in your life. That's not too much to ask. That's not too much to give. That's just love. At 72, looking back, wishing I'd known sooner, but glad I know now. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to subscribe to the channel. And don't forget to leave a comment.